So the Heaven's Helper Soup Cafe is a soup kitchen that operates as a kind of a little restaurant. Even though it's a soup kitchen where you think of people going through lines and getting food in a plate or a tray, people seat themselves. They get waited on just like at a restaurant. We've got 2 or 3 different choices of soups, 2 or 3 choices of sandwiches, and we serve them with love and respect. And what's nice is people can come and go, and several times a day, you know, we're open throughout the day. So yeah, it's kind of nice that people can just come and cool down, relax, whatever. So Heaven's Helpers Closet 701 is a free clothing boutique, you might say, because it's not really a thrift store. You go in there and it's like, wow, this is nice. And people who need clothing can go in there and shop, and we'll help them shop and give them clothes to whatever they need. So as the Lord got a hold of me, he was working on me to work for him. And it was about a 5-year process. I was in sales and management. I was working for Xerox at the time. And I finally told my boss, I said, I don't know what the Lord wants me to do, but he wants me to work for him, so I'm giving you my notice. And so I worked until they found someone to replace me, and started the Heaven's Helper Soup Cafe with another friend of mine, and it's, yeah, started then. Like yesterday we had 220. COVID has kind of messed with our numbers a little bit. We're still a little bit down on our numbers from pre-COVID, as people are utilizing food pantries and cooking at home, and not as many elderly are coming and different things like that. But yeah, we serve anywhere from 150 to 250 a day.
Do you get any funding from the state, or is the funding just donations? Or?
It's all donations. We choose not to get any federal or state funding, any government funding at all. So it's all private donations, and yeah. So if I were to put a number on it, I'd say about 20% of our clientele would be homeless. The rest are going to be working poor, people right on the margins, elderly. We got families, like yesterday we had a lot of families come in. We also, believe it or not, get in regular people who can afford to eat wherever, and instead of spending $5 or $10 on a meal at a restaurant, they'll come to the soup cafe, get a homemade bowl of soup, homemade sandwich, salad, dessert, and they'll put something in the box to help those who can't afford it. So we get those also. It allows us not to have to rely on the government for a program to feed people. You know, it can be done community-wide.
With the coronavirus hitting, did you see like a decrease in donations? How is that going so far?
I would say that we've seen a decrease in some areas, but an increase in other areas. And so, you know, I think the community responded very well to the emergency at hand. In fact, during the peak of the coronavirus, when we had to shut down the dining room, we opened the window for takeout. And at the peak, we were serving in the mid 500s a day for meals. So yeah, it was kind of a crazy time. Since the coronavirus, our numbers were down 100 to 150 a day, because we used to be, in the summertime, we used to be in the mid 300s to 400 sometimes, you know. So it's starting to get back closer to where we were at before. But as I mentioned earlier, I think a lot of people are utilizing food pantries and taking meals home and cooking rather than coming. There's still some of those. Yeah. So we're in the process of starting, well, I'll just say when we were at our old location for 6 years, we've seen a lot of things that we knew we wanted to help out with. One of them, we'd see people going to the river to bathe, or they'd go to the bathroom for a sponge bath and stuff like that. So we've got it we had the ministry center under construction, so now we have a private shower. We have a small laundry room with 2 washers, 2 dryers for people to wash their clothes, computers to find work. So we're in the process of figuring out how to do that with the volunteers that we have. It won't be free. They're going to have to use soup cafe bucks. So to earn a soup cafe buck, they're going to have to volunteer, chop vegetables, clean toilets, wash dishes, work or volunteer for an hour, engage in everything that's going on, and then they get a soup cafe buck that they can use for a wash and a dry, a shower, stuff like that. We are a Christian organization, and our motto or what we try to emulate is, being the hands and feet of Jesus. And so we want to treat people with love and respect. We want to love our neighbor as ourselves, and just, give people a big hug, so to speak, when they come in. They feel welcome. From when we first opened, there's a fellow, his name was Warren. He came by and he proceeded to tell my wife how he only stopped by here once just to kind of see the new place, but he was on his feet. He said, and I remember he was on the street, and he had probably troubles with medication at the time, balancing that, and he proceeded to tell my wife. He said, if we wouldn't have been there for him to go through that time, he said he would have died. In the winters and stuff like that. It was a safe, warm place for him. But we've had people who had to come here for community service because we use a lot of volunteers, and they were court ordered to put in so many hours, and then they became a regular volunteer, and then pretty soon they became a PIC, which would be a person in charge of the other volunteers, so almost like a little management position within here. We've got people like that. We're just in the process of starting what's called the Heaven's Helpers Repurpose Store. And what that is, it's kind of a little cottage industry where we can employ people who want to make a change in their life, people who want to get out of addiction, people who want to start over. And a lot of times if you've got a felony on your record, you can't always work wherever you want. There's restrictions for some companies, whereas those are the people that we want to help and pay a decent wage and be able to really mentor and show them how to work in a healthy environment. And so we're starting that and in the process of setting that up to start. I think that mental health component, because that's sometimes what is that barrier between getting the help, getting out of the rut, and getting back onto their feet. So some sort of program where you can help rehabilitate and get people the mental help that they need and get them back on their feet. And so that's, I think, would be most important. And we couldn't do this without the community, because they're the ones who help finance this. But also, our volunteers, we need probably 30 volunteers every day just to be able to operate. For the cafe, I've got 1 part-time employee is all. Everybody else is volunteers. So it's a community effort, whether they volunteer, whether they contribute financially, or they bring food and things like that. We haven't went grocery shopping since 2009. So, yeah. So whatever the Lord provides, that's what we cook with. And so, it's a great organization to just be involved. So I just encourage anybody who would see this to volunteer, and they'd have a lot of fun.